will be an introduction to ECMO. May I please invite the chairperson, Dr. K.R. Balakrishnan and Dr. Sunil Pupani to please join us on the dais.
Good morning, everyone. In the interest of time, we will start. The first speaker of the day is Dr. Suresh Rao. Though you all know Suresh, he is the co-director on the transplant program. He is very actively involved with that. He works at MGM Healthcare and is organizing secretary of this conference. Suresh, area of interest are transplant, VAD, ECMO and critical care. He has got maximum number of thoracic organ transplants, more than 450. That speaks about Suresh. I will invite Suresh to talk on overview of ECMO. Over to you.
Very good morning to all. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all for this national conference, ECMO 2021. I hope you will enjoy the scientific sessions for the next 2 days. Now, public awareness about ECMO was created when the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu was put on ECMO. However, the recent COVID pandemic has brought the ECMO to the limelight. So in the next 15 minutes, I will give a brief overview on ECMO. The membrane oxygenator was developed in the laboratory in 1950s. The first successful ECMO case was done in 1971. And in 1972, first successful pediatric ECMO was done. The first neonatal ECMO was done in 1975. Between 1975 and 89, COVID trial in ARDS was published with 10% survival. And in 1990, it was a standard practice for neonates and pediatrics with severe respiratory failure and in some centers. And in 2000, ECMO became a standard practice in adults in some centers. The publication of CSER trial in 2009 led to a significant growth in the use of ECMO for for ARDS cases. The first successful cardiopulmonary bypass was done by John Gibbon in 1953. Actually, this led to the evolution of the ECMO. And Dr. Donald Hill did the first successful adult ECMO for a patient with polytrauma with ARDS. The patient was 24-year-old male. She is the first neonatal ECMO survivor, and she is around 46 years old now. Dr. Robert Bartlett did the first neonatal ECMO in 1975, and actually he is responsible for creating this logo for the ELSO, which was established in 1989. So you can look at the complexity of the ECMO circuit and machine when it was used in 1972. And the present day, the ECMO circuit is much compact and simpler. So the ECMO principle is simple. The desaturated blood is drawn from the body through a venous cannula, and carbon dioxide was removed, oxygen is added through a extracorporeal device, and the oxygenated blood is returned back to the body through a vein in veno-venous ECMO or through a artery in veno-arterial ECMO. Now, what are the various types of ECMO? You have veno-venous ECMO, where the desaturated blood drained from the vein. After oxygenation, it is given back to the venous system. And in veno-arterial ECMO or VA ECMO, the blood is drawn from the venous line, and after oxygenation, it was given back to the arterial system through a arterial cannula. There are VVA ECMO, where you will have 2 lines to drain the blood and 1 arterial cannula, whereas veno-arterial venous ECMO, that is VAV ECMO, 1 cannula drains the venous blood, and there are two cannulas, one to the arterial system, one to the venous system, which gives the oxygenated blood. You also have arteriovenous ECMO. I'll explain about it later. The ECMO can be central or peripheral. In central ECMO, the chest is opened, the right atrium and aorta are directly cannulated, whereas in peripheral ECMO, the peripheral vessels are cannulated, that is the femoral artery, femoral vein or some other veins. So in veno-venous ECMO, blood is drawn from the IVC through a cannula placed through the femoral vein, and the oxygenated blood is given back through a cannula placed in the IJV into the right atrium. So you can use two cannulae or you can use a double lumen single cannula. So when you use double lumen single cannula, the one lumen drains the blood from the IVC and the SVC, and the oxygenated blood is given through the second lumen into the right atrium. So in VA ECMO, the blood is drawn from the venous system through a cannula placed through the femoral vein, and the arterialized blood is given to the femoral artery through a cannula placed in the femoral artery. So what is VAV ECMO? Here you will have one cannula which drains the blood from the IVC, and after oxygenation it was given back to the femoral artery as well as right atrium through a cannula placed in the interjugular vein. So this is especially used when there is a what is called north-south syndrome or Harlequin syndrome. So this is the AV ECMO, basically using the Novalung. Here we don't have any pumps, and the femoral artery is directly cannulated and also the femoral vein, and the arterial pressure itself drives the blood. So it is basically used for CO2 removal. So coming to the ECMO pumps, you have various pumps. This is Rotaflow, then you have Meadows pump, Sorin pump, you have CardioHelp and Centrimac. These are the various pumps used for the ECMO. Next is oxygenators. They actually, where the gas exchange actually happens in oxygenators. So we started with bubble oxygenators for cardiopulmonary bypass, and membrane or silicon membrane oxygenator for ECMO. Today we are using hollow fiber polypropylene oxygenator for CPB and hollow fiber polymethylpentene oxygenator for ECMO, which can be used for 2 to 3 weeks. So these are the oxygenators used present day, and you have Meadows oxygenator, Sorin oxygenator, other types of oxygenators. Next is cannulation. You can have open cannulation method, or semi-open technique or percutaneous technique. In open cannulation, you expose the heart through a sternotomy. So in semi-open, you open the vessel through a surgical incision, but insert the cannula percutaneously. And in peripheral ECMO, there is no surgical incision. The cannula are directly inserted into the vasculature through a percutaneous route. If the ECMO is instituted through femoral vessels, the limb on the side of arterial cannulation is at risk of ischemia. So in that situation, you can prevent limb ischemia by using a distal perfusion cannula. It can be surgically inserted, and when it is surgically inserted, it is connected to the femoral artery through a port in the side of the femoral arterial cannula. Or it can be inserted percutaneously using the ultrasound guidance. Here you can see the femoral artery is being punctured, and a single catheter is placed in the distal femoral artery, which was connected to the femoral arterial cannula. Now, what are the indications for ECMO? In veno-arterial ECMO, indications are basically bridge to recovery, or it can be used as a bridge to bridge, or bridge to transplant, or bridge to decision making. So what are the criteria to put a patient on veno-venous ECMO? If the PF ratio is less than 150, for a plateau pressure of more than 30, with FiO2 of 90%, or if the PCO2 is more than 80 millimeter of mercury and pH of less than 7.2 or Murray score more than 3. However, ECMO is the last resort. If strategies like prone positioning, high PEEP, various recruitment maneuvers, use of neuromuscular blocking agents and pulmonary vasodilators, if they fail, you can go for ECMO. Now, ECMO maintenance basically involves giving good flows and also proper anticoagulation, and ventilatory support may not be required, especially in veno-arterial ECMO. We need to serially monitor the recovery of the primary cause, and we need to take care of the nutrition, and we need to closely watch for the complications. So this is our own experience with ECMO. We would have done around 450 ECMOs, of which 200 are veno-venous, another 250 are veno-arterial. Basically, veno-arterial ECMO was used for heart failure, and we did around 24 eCPR. Dr. Murali will be speaking about eCPR. So this is one case where we used ECMO as a bridge to transplant. A 32-year-old female with dilated cardiomyopathy came to us. She was waitlisted for a heart transplant. However, she went into severe low cardiac output. So we put her on veno-arterial ECMO, and you can see the two cannulae placed in the femoral artery and femoral vein. And later we did a successful heart transplantation, and we could discharge her. This is another case where a patient came to us with cardiogenic shock. 78-year-old man had an acute MI, came in with cardiogenic shock. We started inotropes, IABP didn't settle, so we put him on veno-arterial ECMO, took him to the cath lab, did the angiogram, and we did PTCA to the LAD, and he was in ECMO for almost 1 week. So we continued the ECMO, extubated him, and after 1 week his ventricular function recovered, so we could wean off the ECMO. Now this is a case where we used ECMO as a bridge to bridge. 32-year young lady came with severe heart failure. In fact, she was on massive inotropes. She was in a different hospital, so we airlifted to our hospital. And when she was in the hospital, she had a cardiac arrest. So we did eCPR, and we put her on ECMO. We didn't get a heart, and her heart did not recover. So we did the LVAD, that is the HVAD, and we could discharge her home. This is another case. A child had severe ARDS, so we put the child on veno-venous ECMO using a dual lumen cannula. So these are the various sizes of dual lumen cannula available for the children, and we could discharge the child after 42 days of veno-venous ECMO, and the child is normal now. This is another interesting case where we used veno-venous ECMO as a bridge to lung transplant. 46-year-old automobile engineer, he was diagnosed with the interstitial lung disease. He visited a lot of centers. They advised heart and lung transplant. He came to us with severe lung infection, ARDS. He was put on a ventilator. You could see the chest X-ray on ventilator. So his oxygen saturation was coming down 70s, 60s. So we put him on veno-venous ECMO using a single cannula, dual lumen single cannula. So he was on ECMO for almost a month. Then we did the bilateral lung transplantation. And in the post-transplant period, he developed dehiscence of the left bronchus. You can see the left bronchus. And finally, we did stenting of the left bronchus. And this is the chest X-ray post lung transplant. Of course, he took a lot of time to recover. Rehabilitation was vigorous. And finally, we could send him home. This is a photograph where he has put it on the Facebook. Now, ECMO, as I said, came to the limelight, especially in COVID-19 ARDS. It can be used as a bridge to recovery. Usually, we have seen it takes 1 to 3 months for the recovery of the lungs. In case lungs are irreversibly damaged, it can be used as a bridge to lung transplant. So these are the explanted lungs where when we did the lung transplantation for the severe COVID-19 ARDS. And again, it took almost a month to shift him out of the ICU after the lung transplantation. So what about the future of ECMO? With new technology, ECMO can be more simple and safe, and third generation pumps which are magnetically levitated can prevent more trauma to the blood by preventing microcavitation, and surface coating of the tubings and oxygenators that mimic the endothelial lining will prevent us using anticoagulation and also prevent blood trauma. Nitric oxide releasing silicon membrane, diamine, triamine can reduce the platelet activation, and ECMO will have wider applications like cardiogenic shock, donor organ preservation in case of abdominal organ transplant for transplantation, and use of ambulatory ECMO with a portable ECMO machine for respiratory failure. To conclude, ECMO is a life-saving supporting system. It has got widespread indications. VV ECMO is basically used for respiratory conditions, whereas VA ECMO for cardiorespiratory conditions, and percutaneous ECMO is easy, has less complications and the preferred technique, and future technology can reduce the complications. Thank you.
Thanks, Suresh, for an excellent talk. You not only covered ECMO initiation and how it was done in the world, and also shared the institutional experience. We will take questions at the end of the session. Thank you.